What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin today, BTC USD. It's the 15th day of January today, and here we are sitting at about $96.3 thousand with roughly 7.5 hours left in the day. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here, and let's get into it. I don't believe that what we've done here is found a point of resistance at which we reject down from, right? I don't believe that. And I'll go over my logic for that in a second. But for one, we actually haven't hit these points of support here. We got pretty close here, and we're at this point of resistance here. I mean, there's some significance here, and that might be why we're finding a little bit of turbulence, but it's not going to be significant enough to stop us dead in our tracks. This is not a point at which you're in a bear market and you get a lower high. That's not it. First off, I don't think we're in a bear market. I never did, right? Unlike a lot of people in crypto, I actually kept my bullish stance very, very strong and adamant because, I mean, it's very apparent, very obvious that here, in these moments where we had the most fear that we've seen since the bear market, it was the most fear we've seen since the bear market, we are still at a higher macro low. It's very obvious that whenever, I mean, in my 10 years of experience in crypto and in stocks, whenever you have a higher macro low and there's more fear in the markets than there's been in literal years, it doesn't sound like a bear market to me. Doesn't sound like a bear market to me. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. That's just, me being candid there. But no, I don't think that we stop here. I don't think this is a rejection point. I don't believe that we spent about a month and a half consolidating here in this ascending triangle formation to just stop right here 2 days later after breaking out. I don't think so. I don't think that's what it is. I think that we're going to see a breakout that represents this pattern, and let's see what that would do. I don't know. Have we actually ever even taken a measure move of this? Maybe we have, and I just forget. I think the top should probably be like somewhere right there. We take a low. Should I take this low? Or should I take this low? Should we be conservative? I feel like I should take this low, but let's be conservative. Let's take this low. And we'll take the high of the pattern. I'm not even taking the actual low to the actual high. Right? Put it here at the breakout. That move more or less would take you to about 105.6K. And we are being conservative. It might make sense to go a little bit higher. If you put a line right here on this measure move that we just concocted, I think it makes a little bit more sense to come up here. Where you found resistance, support, 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 support. You know what I mean? Like something like that. Resistance, resistance right there. I think this line actually makes more sense, and that's at about 107K. That's where I think we're going to go. That's what, since probably the middle of December that we've assumed we would do, is that we'd go up here. I think a lot of people are expecting that we'll find resistance here at this point, somewhere between this area, and maybe we do, and maybe we find some turbulence here, but I want to express my thoughts here because, again, I don't think that we stop here. I don't think this is going to be a lower high for your bear market. I think people are counting on that. Bulls and bears alike are probably counting on us finding resistance here, but I do think that we're going to continue pushing higher to find resistance here, and I want to explain the significance of this. And I've tried to explain this before, and I think I've done a good job of doing that, but I'm going to try to really do it here just to really paint a picture of what I think's going on. And this is not a fact, what I'm about to say. This is genuinely my opinion, but it's based off of my experience in the markets, my 10 years of experience in the markets, and watching the opinions that are being shared of other content creators and analysts in the space, and just general sentiment in comments, in the discords, and on x.com, whatever, from people who are in the space as well. So my thoughts here are, first, that a lot of people are expecting that we'll find resistance here. A lot of people are expecting that we'll find resistance here, and it's both bulls and bears expect that we will find resistance here, and it makes sense both ways. If you're a bear, of course, you're going to find resistance at the prior area that you found support. You check back, you find resistance. That means it's a lower high. You're in a bear market, right? Of course, you can still be bearish and think that this is a bear market and still assume that we move a little bit higher. This is probably where you would consider that we'd find resistance if we're in a bear market, right? If you're a bull, you're probably expecting that we find resistance here just because you want to see this stair-stepping. We move up, we'll probably back test prior support or prior resistance for support and build there, right? Whether you're a bull or a bear, there's both sides of the aisle that can make sense out of finding resistance in this area, and both sides would not have a problem with going up here and finding resistance here, right? The bulls would have a problem if we broke lower, right? If we didn't have higher lows after finding resistance. The bears, however, And the bulls, I think, would have a problem if we just kept moving up. Because I genuinely do think most people are expecting that we find resistance here. And then if we do break through here, if we do go up to this area where we found resistance and support before, if we go up to this area, this 106 to 110K area, which also from our all-time high to our low here lines up right in the heart of our golden ratio zone. If that is where we go, the bulls are going to become exuberant. They're going to become euphoric. And they're going to be ha no bear market, laughing in your face every single time that happens. What do we get? We get a relative high. We get a relative high. Every single time the bulls get exuberant, that's what happens. So you go past this very obvious point to stop at. You get exuberant bulls, which is a top signal. And at the same time, you will capitulate anyone who thinks that we're in a bear market. You're going to be like, people are going to start to think, oh my God, we're not stopping here. We're not stopping at the 50-week moving average. What's going on? We're in a bull market. People all over the space, bulls and bears alike, will get max bullish at this very clear area of resistance. Mark my words. And then we're going to sell off. People will panic again, and then we'll probably pump. Likely what's going to happen, I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't this be ironic and hilarious? I think it would be. If instead of finding resistance here at this area, we passed through it, like I said, and then came back to find, instead of resistance, support at this area. Wouldn't that be funny? I think that'd be funny. And that might be a blessing, too. That honestly might be a blessing, because if you're expecting that we find resistance here and you sell, but we pump up a little bit and then come back down here, hey, you can buy back and no harm, no foul. You're still catching the party train to the upside. And I do believe it'll move higher. I do believe that more or less this is what I'm expecting to happen. Probably by the end of the month. I wouldn't be surprised if we pumped up here and dumped back down by the end of the month. It could happen that fast, if not sometime in early February. I do think that we're going to move up to about 107 to 110K by the end of January, but as far as the pullback goes, that could be reserved for January or February. Let's look at the short-term stuff, and then we'll zoom out from there, okay? One more thing, in case anybody's wondering if we're stopping here. Again, a lot of people were assuming that this was a bear flag and that we were breaking out here. We had no volume at all. It was completely absent, missing, gone, not existent. Here, we've got this much larger developed pattern, this ascending triangle, which has been developing for about a month and a half. We just broke out of it 2 days ago. And the volume is immense. It doesn't stop here. This is the real deal. This is what a fake out looks like. This is what a breakout looks like. Okay, and you can see the notable differences. Higher lows still here. We weren't actually breaking out. Higher highs. We are in an uptrend. We are moving up. 1 hour time frame here. Looking at this. Yeah, I think we're ready to move up, guys. Bitcoin's been doing this for so long, where just as soon as you take out whatever the low is, the relative low is, that's when you move up, right? You get people all excited. Oh my God, we're going to move lower. I'm going to go short, and then boom, then we move up higher. I bet that's exactly what happened there. Time to move higher. 1 hour time frame. Looking at the RSI, higher lows on a closing perspective, lower lows on the RSI. That's hidden bullish divergence. Stochastics are weird, to be fair, but whatever. The price is kind of weird, and the MACD is also kind of weird, but still bullish overall on every single indicator. We know it's bullish because, again, lower lows in the RSI, higher lows in the price. And you're getting overbought, you're not getting oversold. You're getting overbought on the stochastics, you're actually not even getting oversold, which is pretty impressive. And the oscillators on the MACD are above the zero. They're all bullishly postured. 4 hour time frame here, looking at this, a little bit of bearish divergence. Yeah, you did. You had some bearish divergence right here on your RSI, and that's exactly what this wick down was. That took you, the divergence started here. You went just below where the divergence started. You ate that up like candy, and now you're ready to go higher. Now, instead of bearish divergence, you have lower lows with higher lows. Now you have hidden bullish divergence, and that's going to continue your trend. The stochastics are still bullish, and the MACD is reset enough where you could literally bounce here and continue to grow. If I'm wrong, and if we don't make a move higher today or tomorrow, like right now, if we're not moving up to like 98K or higher by the end of today or tomorrow, then maybe we consolidate further. Maybe we do see a lower low. I wouldn't expect that, but even if we do go lower, we could expect to find support, maybe right around 94K to 95K, somewhere in that range. We're at 96.7K now, so nothing too dramatic. But even if that happens, right, we come down, it'll be a nice kind of tight consolidation phase like we're in now, whatever, and then we'll bounce, we'll recover, and then we will move higher. But I don't think we're going to do this. That's not what I'm assuming is going to happen. And if it does happen, it might last a day or two. What I'm assuming is going to happen is that we just move up from here. That's my assumption. Like right now, immediately. Doesn't mean that right as soon as I'm done making this video, we pump. That's how it's been the last couple of days. Maybe it'll happen that way. But certainly I would expect over the next 36 hours, we probably do see $98,000 and above over the next 36 hours. Maybe less. Probably less. Less time, not less price. I mean, we could be at $100,000 in 1 day's time from now, or less. We really could be. But we're on our way there. We're on our way to higher levels than that too. You look at the daily time frame, and again, my thoughts are, and I addressed this yesterday, but I want to address it now just as like a point of reference, right? You see how we have a higher high here? There were probably a lot of bears that were assuming because we had a lower high yesterday before the close that we would have bearish divergence, so we'd sell off. Just remember that we're in a tricky environment, and when Bitcoin's tricky, it's going to give you obvious traps like that. Like that bearish divergence was never real. It's only real if you get a red day to close, and we did not get a red day to close. So I just imagine a lot of preemptive shorts that are underwater right now that are about to get creamed as we squeeze higher. The MACD is building bullish momentum. We just crossed above the zero. This is a very obvious sign here. The continuation of building momentum, and then the oscillators crossing above the zero line here. This is a very obvious signal that we're just getting started. This is not a point at which you expect to pull back from. This is a point at which you expect to push through. And the stochastics, the RSI, everything's bullish here. So that's the idea. From here, we should move up another, I would assume, another 10% or so. Yeah. Hit that like button, subscribe, and probably, I would guess, within the next week, like before the 22nd, before the 25th, but at the latest by the end of the month, about a week later. Hit the like button, subscribe. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye.